Hi, I'm Danny Quinn. Welcome to another exciting edition of Calling Me Poetry. This evening, I'd like to welcome my guest and my good friend, Mr. Rudolph Stewart. And Rudolph is what you call a gospel comedian. A gospel comedian. Why a gospel comedian? Welcome, Rudy.
Thank you.
You're not a stranger to this show, brother. You've been here before.
Right, I've been here before in a different capacity.
Yes.
Gospel comedy is a new wave that's happening in our churches and theaters and banquet halls. And Reverend Rudy is my gospel comedy name.
Okay.
And we've been doing shows in the area, and we MC, host. We do all kinds of things. But you asked the question, why gospel comedy? Is because I found out through the medium of comedy, I can use it as a teaching tool. See, a lot of people, when you come real deep,
Right.
You kind of lose them immediately because they're already out of the circle of spirituality and teachings of Christ and Allah and excuse me. So we use comedy to kind of break the initial ice and tear down the walls.
With comedy, gospel comedy, if you will, how is that different from comedy in general? Well, there's no four-letter words.
Well, there's no cursing, and we can sit down and, hey, guess what? Bleep, blah, blah, bleep, and no, it doesn't happen. And it's not, gospel comedy to me is not just not using profanity. What I use is, and my style, I don't know of many gospel comedians, but so it's a relatively new era. But for me, I use the Bible, I use the scriptures, based with my own experiences, my stories of growing up. And I'm more like a Bill Cosby kind of a style. I tell stories during my act or my presentation.
Or family stories?
Yeah, family stories or different experiences that have happened to me, different testimonies. And we use the scriptures, and we kind of dialogue the scriptures. We take different stories. I have a story that maybe 2 years ago, I accidentally set my legs on fire. And I incorporated that into a story of Moses and the burning bush. I went through a season in my life where I couldn't talk to God. It seemed like God wouldn't talk back to me. And I happened to read the story of Moses and the burning bush, and I kind of got this idea that, well, okay, maybe I need to set up a fire and talk to God. So I went in my backyard and put all these dry leaves together, gasoline and alcohol and dogs, bones, all kind of stuff. And I set this fire up in the effort to talk to God. And of course, I was a little too close to the flame, and I burnt myself up. So for that episode, I spent about a week in the hospital, and I kind of realized that maybe I took that passage too literally. So but those are the kind of things that we do. We juxtapose life experiences to the Bible and Bible stories, and we're very effective.
What does it take to be a comedian in general, but a gospel comedian? What does it take to be a good comedian?
Well, you know what I found out? I found out in the absence of cursing and following the norm, it's much more difficult, because when you look at certain comedians, you can get on stage and curse for 5 or 10 minutes.
And that's what they do.
And people will crack up because it's just the whole idea of somebody cursing on TV. I can't believe you say that, and it's funny. To be a gospel comedian or a comedian in general, you have to have a pulse on the people. You have to be a great improvisational improv. I can do that. To be able to switch from story to story, feel the crowd,
and make it flow.
And make it flow. And timing. Of course, everyone knows that timing is a part of comedy. And so it's really in just taking your time. And go ahead.
How important is flow, though? Because I see some comedians, especially young ones, just starting out, the timing is off, and they're not flowing at all. There's time and space in the middle, and they don't use the audience.
Well, I think what happens is, again, that comes from not having enough experience in being able to do improv. Because what happens is, if you set up an act that you're going to do, then you go right through it. And you don't allow yourself time for the story to develop or for people to get out the laugh, and you just focusing on memorizing what you put out. But see, for me, God speaks to me through my comedy. And so I minister as I make people laugh. It's kind of a teaching tool, because the Bible says it's a time to laugh, and it's a time to weep, mourn, And when I'm up, it's a time to laugh. It's a time to make light of certain situations that are going on, because you just can't be deep all the time, Danny.
No, you can't be deep.
I mean, you meet some people. I've gone to school. If I saw a sister maybe a year ago and I met her and she was real quote unquote deep, and how you doing, Rudolph, praise the Lord, and are you saved and sanctified? I was like, yes, God is the head of my life. And she said, well, do you speak in tongues? I said, well, I spoke to you. I mean, as far as I know, people can't talk without a tongue. But you just can't be deep all the time, because you run people away. And we in the church and we in the body of Christ, we kind of push people away with that. That deepness, that deepness, it can't reach the masses, because you can be deep to your church member. Yeah. But your church members are already in the church, so they're in a place where they can be delivered, or they're on their way. But the thing is,
you don't want to preach to the choir.
Right. You got to meet the people out on the street, meet the brothers out on the corner, the brothers who haven't been in church. So,
but aren't there some people who would take offense to some of the things that you might say?
Well, absolutely. I respect their opinion, and there are a lot of people who might call me the Antichrist. I don't get that often, because the movement of God now is a progressive movement. Okay, people are now saying, well, let me hear. It was almost the same thing with rap music, the positive rap music. For a while, adults said, I don't want to hear that foolishness. But then as their kids got more involved, they recognized that they had to go with the sign of the times, and they began to listen to the lyrics. So when I minister, the first thing I say is, listen, there's a war going on. Okay, there's too many people fooling the people of God, thinking we have to be deep and serious and cannot laugh. But what happens when a preacher is preaching? A preacher might say something funny, and the membership is like a sigh of relief. They're laughing.
Yeah.
So I open up and let them know that.
I heard the minister Farrakhan say that sometimes when teaching, you have to, like, maybe when you was a kid, your mother give you a medicine for a cold. She put a little orange juice in there.
Yeah.
And that helps it out. It helps
nobody want to get the straights. You got to make, and even these preachers, and some of them are real deep, and they have a great grasp on the Word of God. But some people you just won't keep their attention unless you throw some humor in. It's a very theatrical performance, and this is what I bring when I do comedy, when I MC certain events. I mean, I MC'd a piano recital. I was in the, what newspaper was that? They did an article on me.
Where? The Post?
No, not the Post. Not the Post. My mind just locked up on me, Danny Quinn. The Afro-American did an article on me. And the sister got my name and read the information in my bio. She called my manager and said, well, we want to see if we can get him to MC a piano recital. And this is a Christmas piano recital for little kids. But I went there, and it was something that they've been doing for years, but I brought something totally different in terms of the humor about Christians, about Christmas, about comedy, and everybody just enjoyed themselves, because all of the adults came thinking that they would just hear their kids play and it would be another drive 2 or 3 hours, but lit the place up. And if anybody out there listening who was there, they can call you and verify. I mean, we had a good time.
What kind of places would invite a gospel comedian?
Church, any kind of church.
Birthday parties,
churches,
baby Christian.
Birthday parties, baby christenings, weddings. I do wedding receptions. People want to, hear humor side. I've been married for 5 years, so I know something about relationships. Being a young married couple, I don't do funerals. I don't do funerals. I can't do funerals. Don't even give me an invitation to do a funeral, because you're asking me to get hurt at that point. So, but all kind of events, and not just Christian events, but all kind of events where you need an MC. I have an event today when I leave here at B. Smith's. There's a play coming to town, Born to Sing, and I'm sure by the time the show airs, a lot of people will have heard about it, with Stephanie Mills and Shirley Season, and we're doing a reception luncheon at B. Smith's, and I'm hosting that and MCing that kind of a press party.
Where's B. Smith's?
B. Smith's is in Union Station, the African American
What time will you be
restaurant. That's from 12 to 2.
Well, I might come down to see you, man.
Well, that'll be
Matter
nice.
of fact, if I ever tie the knot, I would get you to come and do my wedding,
man. We're pushing the brother to tie the knot. You color me poetry, you need to write a...
Well, I tried to tie it before, but it came loose,
Well, you need to write a poem about I'm looking for the one.
Yeah, well, maybe two.
Yeah, come on, Danny, that too, bro.
I forget this brother's a deacon.
People not ready for that. The people aren't ready for that. It's the West Coast. Not ready for you talking about more than one wife. Sisters will be lined up outside Bowie State with bats.
It's beautiful, man, to have you come and share with us.
Well, I enjoy it. Through any means that we can get the message out that God is moving. He's progressive. We take it back.
How has young people respond to your message? Because it is a ministry as well.
It's a ministry.
As compared to older people.
What it is a ministry. And what I found out is the audience that enjoy me most are middle-aged to the older Christians, the saints of God, the believers. Praise the Lord. But young people, I've done a lot of youth explosions, youth extravaganzas, and they sit back and they say, wow, this is funny. Here's a guy who is in the church, and he's down to earth. He's funny. I did BET Teen Summit last week.
Oh, okay.
They did a gospel extravaganza with John P. Key, and I talked to the young people about how I was involved in a drive-by shooting outside my house, and how they shot up my Riviera. And I'd like to take the opportunity, Danny, to tell you people, I put out an APB, or I'm trying to find out who shot up my Riviera. I drive 82 Riviera, and they bullet holes in the side of my car. And I told the young people, I said, God will help you control your emotions. Because with every ounce of the human side in me, my brother, I wanted to find out who shot my Rivi. But God reminded me, Rudy, they shot your Rivi. So my desire to go find them kind of quailed. But if anybody got any information, we're offering reward bonuses to fix up my Rivi, man. She's hurting. She's hurting.
And a chicken sandwich.
Well, I'm a vegetarian, so no chicken sandwich. But to the people, we give them a nice something, bean pies,
How do your stories? I don't understand comedy. I don't know if I could ever be a good comedian. I don't know if I could be a bad comedian.
You don't know if you can be a comedian, period. You're a poet. Well, you say how the stories. I formulate the stories. I went to a secular comedy show, and the brother was saying, when I told him I was a comedian, he was saying that, well, just get into it. He was trying to give me some advice, because you have different kinds of comedians down there. You have some comedians who deal with issues, and they just go from event to event to event, maybe talk about it.
Political.
Right.
Yeah.
But I tell stories. It's like Bill Cobb tells stories.
Yeah, Bill tells stories all the time.
I'm a storyteller. I love to tell stories, Danny. And I got this story that I talked about fasting and prayer, and I just go through how in fasting, my mom at one point in 1984 put me on a 3-month fast, me and my two sisters. And I put that in a story talking about the scriptures and about how we rebelled, and how mom was talking about we're going to fast. I'm like Joshua, we're going to serve the Lord. And I told my mom, I said, well, listen, Ma, I know Joshua ate sometimes. He didn't just circle Jericho without any substance. And she was like, well, man shall not live by bread alone. And I was like, but Mom, he put the food down here for us to eat. And then, she got frustrated and said, boy, we going to fast, and that's fine. And I said, well, Mom, why? She said, we going to fast. I said, why? We going to fast. And when parents get frustrated, parents say, boy, we going to fast because I said so.
Yeah.
Man, what's that all about? Why do parents resort to I said so?
Yeah.
I couldn't wait to have a child, man. I use I said so everywhere I go in life. My child thought, Dad, can I have some cereal? No, why? Because I said so.
Maybe I'll do a poem and call it that. I said so.
You should do it, man, because parents, it's a scapegoat. Parents use it, man. I got pulled over by police. He said, license registration. I said, no. Why? Because I said so. Sir, step out the vehicle, hands above your head. Hey, I'm sorry. It's a psychological thing from childhood. Here it is. I'm reaching into my pocket to get my license and registration. I don't want no accidental deaths. Talking about Reverend Rudy was shot on I-95. Officer thought about I got smart with him, but it's fun, man. I formulate the stories based on life experiences, and you gotta let stories develop, man. You gotta let them develop.
Did they come to you?
They come to me. All of my material now. When I get famous and you hear about me in LA and California, because that's what's going to happen, I'll start having other writers. But for right now, God speaks to me in the morning while I'm at work, and I just write. And I just write like you do poetry. I write. God inspires me.
We're going to have to take a break. We'll be right back. I'm Danny Queen. This is Color Me Poetry. We'll be right back.
When the heavens thunder, when the nation calls, come on, you can make a difference and be a part of it all. If you're able to pay the price, you can. Willing to sacrifice, you can. Adventure, helping, service in the Army National Guard, you can.
Find yourself in the Army National Guard, serving 1 weekend a month and 2 weeks a year, and you'll find an extra paycheck, money for college, and all the adventure you can handle. It's a great way to serve your country and community. Call 1-800-GO-GUARD.
If you're ready to pass the test, you can. An American at your best, you can. Adventure, helping, service in the Army National Guard. In the Army National Guard, you can.
42% of all murdered women are killed by men who promise to love them. Help stop domestic violence. Call us.
It takes so little to save our rivers and oceans for future generations. If we use less toxic household cleaners, we protect a little. Fewer lawn care chemicals, a little more. And recycling used motor oil gains us so much. In fact, there are many things we can do in our everyday lives that can help stop water pollution forever. Clean water, if we all do a little, we can do a lot. Brought to you by the Natural Resources Defense Council and the Ad Councils of the U.S. and Japan.
Welcome back to Color Me Poetry. I'm Danny Queen. We're here with my most wonderful guest, most funny guest, Reverend Rudy, and he's a gospel comedian. Welcome back, Rudy.
Thank you.
Man, you make me laugh. But, hey, that's your job. You're supposed to make people laugh. How do you feel when you make people laugh?
It makes me feel good.
Really?
And I'm going to tell you, if nobody else laughed at what I do, I would laugh at myself because I crack me up.
How do you keep from laughing at yourself when you see people's response to you?
It's hard because when I first started, the people would always tell me, don't laugh while you're explaining your story. But sometimes I can't because I'm telling you, when I see people laughing, it does my heart good. Like milk does the body good. It does my heart good to see people laughing. A lot of times I do like this, and I cover my laughter up. Or just pause or turn away from the people. But it's funny because when you watch TV shows, you see how the actors that they can't stay in character and they start laughing. It's kind of funny. So we, you know.
I compare that to sometimes when we're at church at Union Temple, and I'm on security post, and I'm down front, and Rev says something funny. And you want to laugh so bad, but you have to hold it in.
Right, but you got to be serious because, you know, nobody's going to take a security man on post laughing.
No.
But I mess with them all the time. I be down there like this, you know, and making faces. I always try to make security laugh. They don't like me, but I tell them if you're going to laugh at me, get off the post. You know?
So it happens a lot. But it's a good for laughter is good for the soul, though, also.
It is. It is.
Really
There's
is.
documented evidence, Daniel, situations where persons in the hospital rooms who are depressed and they bring in tapes of Jerry Lewis and different comedians and different comedy shows, and laughter really does the heart and the body. Yeah, it's a healing medium. And people don't really understand that because we've been taught to be so serious. And you really can't be serious because, especially the people of God, there's so many things that happen to you that you would go crazy if you tried to be serious and analyze everything that happened. You know, your lights go out when you come. You can't do nothing but laugh. I mean, my lights went out one time only because, not that I didn't have the money, but because I forgot to mail the Pepco bill. And I got home and I started losing it, man. Oh, I'm going through a season. I'm going through a Job experience. My lights are out. Oh, my God, I can't, no heat. And my wife said, listen, is this the Pepco bill? You know, right here that you forgot to mail. So, I mean, some things you got to laugh at because laughing takes your mind from going to a depressed state to elevating and say, wait a minute, it can't be this bad. So it's fun. And people, and that's my job, is to let people know the message is laughter and to learn. And also, this is the first thing I start my shows with. I might say something to make you laugh, or I might say something to teach you a lesson. Everything I say to you is not going to be funny. If I say something and you don't laugh, then there was a lesson that you were supposed to get. And so, you know, people laugh about it, but it's true. You know, that takes the pressure off me to be funny.
So there can be a lesson in the laughter.
There always is. If not, it's buffoonery. And I didn't go into this ministry to make people laugh and just to have them crack up, because they can do that doing anything.
But you want to teach also.
I want to teach through comedy, and that is the challenge that's before me, to always find a lesson in the laughter that I try to give off. Yeah.
Well, maybe I'll start calling you the minister of laughter.
Well, you can just call me Reverend Rudy,
Rudy.
And that'll do it, man, because people know. People know.
Well, that's good though, because I've always loved comedy, good comedy. Who are some of your favorite?
Well, my favorite would be Bill Cosby.
Really?
As it relates to my style.
Why Bill?
Well,
as opposed to maybe Richard Pryor or some of the other comedians.
I loved
Robin Harris.
I loved as a child listening to Richard Pryor, Eddie Murphy, because again the fascination with cursing, because the language is something that you're not supposed to use. So as a child you're fascinated with it. But with Bill, go ahead. With Bill, I loved Bill because of his finesse, his class,
yeah, he's
his
very
story.
classy.
And see, that's the way I am. I like
and he knows how to tell a story.
Yeah, and I consider myself, this is not conceit. I consider myself a classy individual. I like that. I like to very slow, very methodical, let everything build. But in terms of when I get radical, in which I do, because you have to teach about some of the ills that plague our community, I also watch a lot of Dick Gregory. He's also some of
storyteller.
Who I watch, a storyteller who could put in what's going on today with our people
make it
and make it funny. So Bill Cosby and Dick Gregory are the two idols that I look up to and that I get my inspiration
And
from.
they're all very different though. I mean, and back in the day you had Butter Beans and Sue's. I know that's before your time and mine, but I knew about them because I read about them. Mom's Mabley before my time, but I knew about her. I read about her, and I was probably a little kid crawling around on the floor. My grandmother used to call them party record. But ain't no party record.
Party record. That's
party
right.
record.
That's right. Absolutely.
And used to play them after all the kids go to bed at night. Put them party records on.
That's right.
Well, y'all kids get upstairs.
Put on the red light.
Right. And that's the way it was. You know. But I remember coming up listening to Richard Pryor, and I always liked Richard because he was street. And he did a lot of cursing, but there was sometimes there's a lot of messages. There's deep messages sometimes in comedy, because I think comedy is really based in truth, but you turn the whole thing around. So I got a lot of that from Richard Pryor in his stories, through all the cursing and all that. Like he tells a story about the wino and the junkie.
Oh, man, he's hilarious, man. Richard is the man. And I believe Richard would be funny even if he didn't curse. But
yes,
because
I think
of his background, the way where he came from, cursing was accepted. And then the places that he played,
that's true.
the different clubs, certain clubs, as a gospel comedian, I couldn't go on Def Comedy Jam.
Yeah.
I mean, I could do anything. I could go in any club, but because they're so used to hearing the cursing and the screaming, it would be a challenge. But I could redirect their focus. The other comedians would be upset with me, though, because I didn't curse.
So where's he going with this?
Yeah, but it's good. And a lot of people can't appreciate real comedy
See,
now.
a lot of the comedians I hear nowadays, a lot of times I think they're cursing just for the sake of cursing. But with Richard, he didn't just curse every other word, but I think it was more of an art form, and he used it to highlight certain things.
Yeah,
but now they just cursing and vulgar, man.
Listen, if there is such a thing as cursing as an art form, Richard has the copyrights on it. Okay, he has the copyrights on it, because you're right. These comedians are going, and I was walking down the street, bleep, bleep, bleep. Then I went to the store and said, hey, man, bleep, bleep, bleep. But then I went home, hey, you son of a bleep, bleep, bleep. And it's just not artistic
it's not
at
artistic.
all. But Richard would tell the story about him and his father hunting. Oh, man. And again, with the stories, people have to be able to relate. And that's what comedy is, relating to what you're saying.
But I found that he used the cursing as an exclamation or a comma, like you use a comma in a sense, That's how I think of it, like that.
But now Bill didn't do that.
No,
but again, they're two different styles.
Yeah.
And Bill didn't knock Richard, and Richard didn't knock Bill.
Not at all.
And
it wasn't about
it's
that.
a respected thing. Now comedy now is not like it was in Richard Pryor, your Bill Cosby, your Dick Gregory. Comedy has gone down, I think. And that is my job as a gospel comedian, is to bring the respectability back to comedy.
And some class to comedy.
And some class to comedy. I mean, when you think comedy now, it's like some churches immediately when they introduce me, I get this.
Really?
You
They
know,
tighten up on you.
until they see
Yeah.
and feel what I bring. Because again, the images of the Def Comedy Jams, the images of the nightclubs and the cursing
And the baggy pants and
is
the hats
what's
on
been
backwards.
is what's been ingrained
Right, in
in our minds. And even though Christians are not supposed to go to nightclubs and different things, we're still affected by the media, by the radio.
Everything else. that
Yeah,
everybody
so
else is
it's a
affected.
fight. It's a fight. But God has given me the challenge to bring it back. Bring it back to God. Because the people take everything that God gives the people of God for His glory.
That's right.
And to minister to His people. And they go in, they steal it, take it out, manipulate it, and then turn it into something that's everything but heaven. And so my job is, when I do comedy, is to create heaven on earth, as the Lord's Prayer says. So that's what I do through the medium of laughter.
We haven't talked about how you got started in this ministry.
Well, Danny, you know me from probably when I was here.
Right.
And you know, in the church, I always took the opportunity to make people laugh.
Even when you didn't think you was being
Even
funny.
when I did, I could get up there and talk about offering and had to say something funny. But what I didn't think about making it funny, but because the church is so traditional, steeped in tradition,
That's true.
if you do something outside of the norm, it's like, hey, where'd that come from? So it's funny. I got started just doing that. And my manager, Darla Davenport Powell, she's been pushing me for 3 or 4 years to go ahead and do it. You know, in our
Step
church,
out.
we're progressive. We do Kwanzaa balls and Motown reviews and whole little different,
Showtime at the
those
temple.
kind of things, where we allow people to talent showcase. And then MCing, it just began to happen and happen. A sister at our church maybe 10 years ago, Valerie Morrison, prophesied to me and told me, you should be a gospel comedian. 10 years ago, it was definitely unheard of. And I looked at her, because I was a young man, and I said, okay, this lady's obviously lost her mind, a gospel comedian. What is that?
Whoever heard of such?
But had I yielded to her call,
Yeah.
to her prophecy, then I would be much further along. But then I also know that it's in God's own time. And
Yes.
now is the time for me. Back then, I couldn't have done it because I wasn't where I needed to be spiritually. Now
And
I am.
you've done a lot more living since then.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So my manager has been pushing me, and now we're doing, the creator's just moving this thing right along.
God is
That's right,
moving.
yeah.
Brother, we thank you for coming and sharing with us
Enjoy.
on Color Me Poetry. How can we get in touch with you for speaking engagements, for emceeing, whatever?
Any kind of event, you can call my business manager and personal manager, Darla Davenport Powell, and her number is 202-581-2648. All right, that's 202-581-2648, and hopefully it'll run in the credits because you have the card.
Okay.
You can give her a call, leave a message, whatever the event, the day, we'll be there if the schedule permits it. We'll
What
be
kind of
there.
events?
Any kind. Like I said before, we're talking weddings, receptions, piano recitals, church events, youth explosions, gospel
Christian.
extravaganzas, anniversaries,
Birthday parties.
homecomings,
Okay.
birthday parties,
Okay.
whatever, bar mitzvahs, you name
Bar mitzvahs too.
everything except funerals.
Okay.
I don't do funerals. So we look forward to the invitations.
Brother, we thank you for coming and sharing with us. We've been talking with gospel comedian Reverend Rudy, and he's a wonderful brother. He's giving comedy a good name again. Comedy deserves a good name and a clean name. And we thank you, brother, for coming and sharing with us.
Thank you for having
here today on Color Me Poetry, and it's wonderful. We're looking for some great things from you. CD, maybe a tape.
It's coming. It's coming.
Keep pushing. Thank God. And I'm Danny Queen. This is Color Me Poetry. And until next time, Color Me Poetry. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.